It's funny, as we were talking about underage sex with minors, and you heard Bill Maher from the past, maybe 10 years ago, they're kind of joking about it. And as long as it's happening with a boy, it's okay. As long as it's an older woman and a boy, it's okay. If it's a boy and an older man, it's not okay. I mean, we're seeing this with Milo. He talked about sometimes it's okay if the man is giving him a loving experience and, basically grooming him. It's okay. And everybody was against that. Bill Maher was talking about that case up in Seattle where it was a 40-year-old woman or 34-year-old woman who was grooming a 14-year-old boy, and everybody's laughing. How do you rape a boy? Well, it happens a great deal. Tim Ballard is in. Tim runs Operation Underground Railroad, ourrescue.org, and it's an organization that this audience helped found and start, raise the first $1 million to get it off the ground. Tim is an old friend of the show, was with the CIA and Department of Homeland Security for a while, busting up sex crimes, and just couldn't take it anymore because there's a lot of things that the government just can't do because of the role of government. Started with us going out and trying to save kids. We have an update for you on Haiti. There was a big bust. This is the Super Bowl bust.
That's right, yep.
While everybody else was celebrating the Super Bowl, Tim and his team were out having another Super Bowl party, if you will, in Haiti that turned out to be a big bust. It's the biggest bust yet?
One of our biggest.
Okay.
Yeah, one of our
biggest.
Tell us about
it.
Well, we, as you know, because you were with us a couple of months ago, we've been setting up things in Haiti for quite some time. One of our first operations was a bust in Haiti that they were selling kids out of this illicit orphanage. But Haiti is such a broken land. There's 300,000 slave kids. You know, Glenn, because you were with us and you saw this firsthand. And we've been working for some time with the police in Haiti to do something about this. I mean, these poor kids are taken, they're slave labor, sex trafficked.
It's literally I can't say every, but if you buy an avocado from the Dominican Republic, which most of us have, a lot of those have been picked by literal slaves. Not like kind of slaves. I'm working for slave labor. This is slave labor wages. No. Actual chained slaves is what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's the most incredible thing we've ever seen. About 2-3 months ago, the Haitian police told us that they had information that children are being sold for sex in the Port-au-Prince area, and they pointed us to a couple of nightclubs where this was happening and asked us if we could go in using our top undercover team to play the role of the Americans, because that's who the traffickers will then come to. They sent us in, and within a couple of days, in fact, while you were there, and you know this, that's when that team was working, parallel to what we were doing on the rehab side. They found 3 different networks that were selling children as young as 10 years old, and they brought these kids after a series of negotiations, always working with the police, where we work with the police. And they believed that we were coming down, a bunch of Americans, for a Super Bowl party at a little resort in the eastern part or the western part of the island. And they ended up bringing 29 victims, 20 of which were actually children. And then 9 traffickers brought these kids. And they walked onto this scene, and we have some photos of this and some videos. But they walked onto this scene that looked like this beautiful American bachelor party, Super Bowl party. And they walked these kids in. My operators reported that some of them were branded, as property with tattoos. At least 2 of them we know for sure had been the subjects of child pornography that had been produced and distributed internationally.
Yeah, one of them was really quite a star of child pornography.
Right. One of them, yes, they'd been making videos since she was 9-10 years old.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So you saved the 29.
Yes.
The bad guys went to jail?
All of them.
All of them went to jail.
Yep.
And the kids, and we don't want to get into the details of this because it's amazing when Pat and I went over before Christmas and we saw these kids. I mean, I don't think people understand. We went into these places, these orphanages where these kids are being brought in, and literally they would not leave us alone. They would not. I've never seen kids, little kids, just come to your feet and look and put their arms up like, please hold me. And then they would cuddle next to you. I mean, they would put their cheek next to your cheek and they would not let you go.
Just starved for
starved for affection, which is odd. Now, not all of these kids that we saw were in sex crimes, but they're all orphans, and some of them are the lucky ones that went to the orphanage that wasn't selling them for slaves. Because, as we also found out, in Haiti, our own churches are doing some things that are causing damage to Haiti. We all go over there, and we all want to do the right thing. But between the corruption of the government and us being do-good Americans, sometimes we don't know. And some of these churches, hopefully not very many, but some of these churches are actually, some of them knowingly, engaged in the slave trade.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's this culturally accepted, really it's no different than the church's involvement in 19th century slavery in America, where it's culturally accepted. There's 300,000 children, they call them restivics. And they're kids who it's domestic servitude, but it's slavery. I mean, the kids get sent to rural areas, or, they say we can't afford them here, so we send them to our family or to our communities outside of the city. But we go in undercover, we know what's happening. These kids are being treated as slaves, sex slaves, slave labor. And we even came into a couple of pastors who had 2 or 3 of them. And they were, they were slaves. They were running.
Like sleep on the floor, can't eat with the family. Cinderella stories, yes. True Cinderella stories. And the churches don't, and the churches there, not all of them by any stretch of the imagination, but some of the churches there, it is so normalized there that they don't think that they're doing anything wrong. And the parents will bring their kids to the pastors, and the pastors will say, "Oh, I'll take care of it," and ship them off to be sold into slavery. It's crazy.
What percentage of the kids that are in sex slavery do you know, Tim, have been sold by their parents?
I could say,
as opposed to kidnapped.
Yeah, anecdotally, I can say it's either sold by the parents or lured out where the parents didn't really, they were duped. I'd say probably 90%.
Tell the
90%.
Very few are like a hard kidnapping, like in the movie Taken.
Yeah. Tell the story about the dad who was told that his children were great for the Star of Brazil show. You know what I'm talking about? It was in the Dominican. I can't remember where it was, where the talent scout came to town.
Yes.
And
unbelievable.
Yeah. Can you tell that story?
Yeah. What happened was this was in Cartagena in Colombia. And this woman who, 25 years old, beautiful, she was Miss Cartagena 2012, I believe. So she was known in the community.
This is like Miss America. Okay, think of this.
Yeah, and the traffickers had recruited her, and she knew exactly what she was doing, to go in, and she would walk into these homes of kids, and they targeted them about 9 years old. And they'd go and sit down with the families and say, "You know who I am. I can make your daughter famous and rich like me. And I'm going to give her a scholarship to my modeling school." And it was a real modeling school. They had pamphlets, they had little commercials, they were showing them on their laptops. And this families thought, "Oh my gosh, my ship came in. Go to the school." And they take these kids and they put them in the school. After they go to school, they go to their 3 or 4 hours in this modeling school, and slowly they're desensitized. They're shown pornography. Then they're shown child pornography. They're given drugs. And they're told eventually part of this job is you're going to go into that room, and there's going to be a person in there, likely a Westerner, and you're going to do whatever sexual acts he wants you to do. That's part of being a model. And by the way, if you tell anybody about this, you will be dead, your family will be dead. And these kids some of them go home every night and they don't say anything. And that's where we were able to sweep in, and we were able to infiltrate that group. And on that operation, we rescued over 100 kids.
Wow. This is really, really important work.
Right now, we're running at about 2,500 to 3,000 for a kid who's outside of the United States.
Okay, and we'll get to the United States. We'll probably talk about that a little bit tomorrow and next week. But if you would like to help in any way you can, go to ourrescue.org. That's ourrescue.org. I'm actually getting onto a plane as we leave tomorrow to go to Bangkok. This is the seat of the Sodom and Gomorrah, if you will. Is this ground zero for sex trafficking?
Definitely one of them.
Okay.
Maybe, yeah.
And he's going to take me through the gates of hell. And Vice already exists. I'm going to bring our cameras with us. I'm looking for virtue. In the worst possible scenarios, where can we find the virtue? And we already have an idea, a couple of ideas of where we can find it. But as the operators go in and rescue some children, they're going to be doing some things. We're going to be finding the virtue. But the gates of hell, I've watched a few documentaries on it, and I don't know if I'm ready to see it myself. I've
been doing this for 15 years, and I want to go home and vomit every time I walk down the street. That I'm going to take you down in a couple days.
I'm sorry we are missing this trip. I'm telling you, wow, I am really sorry we're missing this one, because that's going to be
spend
difficult.
more time on the airplane than we are on the ground, which is unfortunate, but it's going to be a whirlwind trip, and hope to be able to come home and show you some stories of how you are making an impact. And this one involves us, except it's different. This is not rescuing the children alone. And because I get a lot of people, why are we spending money elsewhere? Well, because children are children. I don't think the Lord sees borders.
Also goes a lot further too, right? I mean, you can see.
Yeah, but I mean, we still, if it's happening here in America, we have to take care of it as well. But this particular case, we are. Because the bad guys, a lot of them come from the United States. We're going to a shelter, and I don't want to say anything about it, but we're going to one place where, Operation Underground Railroad has teamed up with this Buddhist monk who actually goes and rescues these 7-year-old boys from the clutches of American men who have come over for a sex holiday. And we have to police our own. Get them out of the picture as well.